We're just going to go one step at a time. The first thing we're going to do is factor. So in our numerator, we're going to take out our GCF, which is a -1. Go ahead and do that. Take out the -1 in the numerator. And then for your denominator, we need to make a box. So let's go ahead and make our box. And find two numbers that multiply to be -15. And add to 2. So I'm going to give you a minute to try to finish factoring out that denominator. So what would be your numbers that multiply to be -15 and add to 2? Yep, -3 and +5. Good job. So let's put our 5x and our -3x, and then take out your GCFs. So when we take out our GCFs, in this top row, we can take out an x. In the bottom row, we can only take out a -1. And then this column, the first column, we can actually factor out a 3x. In the second column, we can factor out a 5. So it's going to break down to 3x plus 5 and x minus 1. So that's your first step. That's step 1, is to factor. So we did that. Because if it's factored, you can identify what is removable. So we have to factor it in order to know our removable discontinuities.
I just paid for the gym. I had to swim.
Go get a pass. Oh, hold on. Okay, so what can I cancel out? What's upstairs and downstairs that I can take out? X minus 1. So that means we do have a removable discontinuity. So my equation is, that I'm going to work with, is f of x equals negative 1 over 3x plus 5. So let's go ahead and find our removable discontinuity. So we're going to take what we canceled. So what we canceled was x minus 1. So what I want you to do to find that whole is take what you canceled, set that equal to 0. That's step number 1. If you can cancel something, we need to write that as an ordered pair. We need to find x and we need to find y. So take that x minus 1, set it equal to 0. And you should get x equals 1. Now to find y, I want you to take that 1 and substitute it into this equation right here. So I'm actually going to write that below. Okay, so we got a 1. And now to find y equals, so we're going to use this equation right here and put the 1 right here. So it becomes negative 1 over, and then it's 3 times 1 plus 5. So go ahead and type that in your calculators. And then just leave your answer as a fraction. So you should get negative 1 over 8. So that would be your final answer. And then lastly, your vertical asymptote. This is a little different because we have 3x plus 5. So you have to set that equal to 0. Go ahead and solve that for x. And you should get x equals negative 5/3. That's your vertical asymptote, and your horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. Ooh. So for your numerator, factor out the negative 4. In the denominator, factor that down. So the bill work was actually a lot harder because we had to make a box. But this one, which is more similar to what you're going to have to do on the test, is really not as bad. So go ahead, take out your GCF of negative 4, and then factor down your denominator. So you do need a colored pencil. Go ahead and grab one if you don't have one, because we do have to do some graphing on this one. So this one we have to graph. But it's not so bad though, because you all get really good. And we don't have to do long division, so it's not hard. Like, y'all got it. It's good. So when you take out the negative 4, that means you're dividing the negative 4x plus 8. So if you divide both of these by negative 4, what is left inside of the parentheses? X minus 2. Yep, you got it. And then you need two numbers that multiply to be 8 and add to negative 6. Negative 4 and negative 2. So x minus 4 and x minus 2. Does everyone see how we did that? And now that it's factored, what can I remove? X minus 2. So you have to factor it down first, though. Oh, wait, this one said y, so let me make it say y too. So this is what we have. And going back to Friday, remember I said as long as you have a number upstairs, you don't have to do long division. So we don't even need to do long division. This is ready to graph. So there's an invisible plus 0 back here. So go ahead and give me the equation for your vertical and horizontal asymptote. So the vertical asymptote is x equals h, y equals k. Go ahead and write your equations for both. So vertical asymptote, x equals h, horizontal, y equals k. So where is your vertical asymptote going to be at? X equals what? 4. Good. X equals 4. And the horizontal is, y equals what? What is k in this equation? 0. Good job. All right, so let's go ahead and graph those in. And then let's make our table. All right, so let's go ahead and do our transformation. So you all are real good at this. H plus x, y times a plus k. And in this equation that we have right here, a is negative 4, h is positive 4, and k is 0. So take a minute and graph it out, and then at the end we'll deal with this hole at the end. We'll do that last. But I want you to graph it normal, and then I'll show you how to add that. It's really simple. So go ahead and take your calculators, add 4. And then you're going to multiply by negative 4 and add 0. All right, so take a minute and do that. Fill in your chart. Wait, hold on 1 second. 2. Okay, make sure that's what you all got, because I didn't use a calculator. Is that what you all got in your calculators? Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about the whole. So that's the last piece that we need to do. Where it says function rule and transformation form, let me go ahead and write that. I didn't write it on the line, but this is your transformation form right here. So let me write that on the line also. So that would be y equals and then it would be -4 over x plus 4 plus 0. Yes, thank you. X minus 4 plus 0. Okay, so now let's talk about this. Now this is where we take what we canceled, set it equal to 0. So what I canceled was x minus 2. So take that x minus 2. Set that equal to 0. You should get x equals 2. And now take that 2 and put it into this equation to get y. So y equals -4 over, and then it's 2 minus 4 plus 0. So take a minute, use your calculator to get that. That should be an ordered pair. So x is 2, figure out what y is. So what do you get right here? So this will be -4. -4 divided by -2, which is 2. Did you get 2? Yes. Okay. So that means we have a whole at 2, 2. So what I want you to do is take your eraser. And at this point here at 2, 2, I want you to erase that. So let me take my little eraser. And then I'm going to find that point on the graph. I'm going to erase it. Oops. And I'm actually going to put like an open circle right there. Hold on, I'm having a hard time. Okay, there we go. It should look like a hole. It should be an open circle at that point. And that's your graph. So it looks like an open circle. That's it. That is all that is to it. Test is next week. We got a test, a quiz, and a test, and we're done. Homework 10A closed this weekend. Hopefully you got that done. If not, move on to 10B. All right, one more question. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at number 2. I'm going to just write that as 1 times 2x plus 3. So the GCF is just a 1. Let's make a box. Factor your denominator. So you have two numbers that multiply to be 30 and add to 13. Go ahead and factor that out. So who knows two numbers that multiply to be 30 but add to 13? 10 and 3. Good job. So you have your 10x and your 3x. Go ahead and factor. And it factors down to 2x plus 3 and x plus 5. So what cancels out? What's upstairs and downstairs that I can take out? 2x plus 3. So your transformation form or your function rule is just going to be f of x equals 1 over x plus 5. And then you have an invisible plus 0. So that's what we have to graph. So go ahead and graph that out. Take your colored pencil, graph your vertical and horizontal asymptote. Make your T-chart and graph it out. So where's your vertical asymptote at? X equals what? X equals -5. And then what about your horizontal one? Where is that at? Y equals 0. So go ahead and add your -5. And then your y values, really, they're not going to change because you're multiplying by 1 and adding 0. Multiplying the number by 1 and adding 0 does not change it. So I'll give you a minute to graph that out. Plot your 4 points, graph it out, and then we'll do our whole, and that's it. So we got what? -7, -6, -4, -3. And then these are all the same. Okay, so now the last thing we need to do is figure out where to put the hole. So you take what you canceled and you set that equal to 0 first. So you're going to take that 2x plus 3, set that equal to 0, write your answer as a decimal. Subtract 3, divide by 2. And when you subtract 3 and divide by 2, you should get x equals -1.5. Or you could say -3/2. So now let's find the y value. So you're just going to put that number right here. The only reason why I write it as a decimal is because I think it's easier for you guys to type it in your calculator. But to find your y value, you're going to type in 1 over, and then put that -1.5 that you got in for your x, plus 5. So type that in your calculator. And you get like 0.3. So the whole, which I'm going to write as a decimal, is -1.5 and 0.3. So take your eraser. -1.5 is going to be like right here. So right in between -1 and -2, I want you to erase. So right in between -1 and -2, take your eraser. I'm just going to take away like a little bitty piece. I'm going to make a break in the graph and then put an open circle right there to represent where that hole is. And that is your graph. Okay, so again, 11A is finished out. Go ahead and continue working on 11B if you have any questions. I am saying after tomorrow, your test is next week.